Hey, Bob, can you tell us a little about your airplane today?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. It's really a fun airplane. It's a little Champ L-16A. And the stock Champs didn't have all that glass. This is an observation airplane. In World War II, they went out and looked around and found the enemy and called in the fighters. And they used to have little racks on them where they'd shoot flares to mark the target, stuff like that. This has a little C-85 Continental engine, and they started running out of crankshafts. The C-85, they're really hard to get, so they took a Continental 0200, which looks just the same, and they took the crankshaft and the cylinders and a lot of stuff inside the engine and put it in a C-85 case. And it's kind of a Continental conversion. There's a better name, but I'm not really spooled up on that. I can't remember. Anyhow, it dyno's about 100 horsepower, and they normally cruise about 75, maybe 80. This cruises at 95 miles an hour all the time. It's got a metal prop, which is there's nothing more efficient than this Continental 85-12. It has a little alternator on it, and it's just the slickest little engine. It runs so good, and the carburetor has a pump in it, an accelerator pump. I'm not sure that's the terminology. But you don't need the little primer that's on the instrument panel on most Cubs and Champs and stuff like that. And they always leak. Doesn't matter how cool you do it, eventually it'll start leaking. So I get in mine and I just pump the throttle twice, hit the starter, goes about 2 or 3 blades and fires right up. And it does it all the time. It's amazing. I've got a nice little battery, a little fits right under my seat. You can get under there and you can pull it out and charge it, do whatever you feel like if it's getting a little low. But it's all, a lot of Champs and Cubs have the cylinders kind of sticking out. They don't have a nice cowl like this. It's just a beautiful cowl. And I put the oil cooler right here, which they used to have them mounted behind the cylinders on the baffling back of the engine, which is just weird, and all airplanes are kind of like that. And so the hot air comes off the cylinders and goes right into that oil cooler. But this way, it's just, bam, the air goes right through it. And it's all legal, everything works great. Little exhaust pipes come out here, I paint them, keep them nice.
And you have drum brakes?
I have mechanical brakes. And everybody says, you don't want those. And you have to work them with your heels. There's none of this toe stuff, heels. So it takes some getting used to, but there's never any brake fluid under that tire. There's no brake fluid because it's all mechanical, and it's just, everybody says, you need to put regular brakes on there with brake fluid. I wouldn't do it. I can run it up full power and hold it with my little mechanical brakes. This Thunderbird, that was when I lived in Phoenix, out in Scottsdale. It used to be called Thunderbird, and it was a World War II training base. And that was their emblem they had there in Scottsdale. So I just love to put that on there, and it's so neat. These are the little vents that work just terrific. If it gets too windy, you just turn them and stops the wind. In the winter, you want those turned all the way around. I put this on this side. Everybody gets in and out on the other side, and people go by and hit it with their head and stuff. So it's over here, and it's nice. It's never been bent. It's just perfect. And then the air hits that and opens it up. And a guy helped me put this together here, Curry Lee. And he got this landing light in Australia, and nobody's ever seen one of these. And you put it in my baggage compartment, but you have to plan ahead because, you know, if you're flying around and it gets dark, it's in the baggage compartment.
I've never seen one. It's the first time I've seen a light like
I
that.
got this thing and I just loved it. And it goes there and it's locked.
Isn't that something?
And you can adjust it here. You loosen this up and make it go up and down. You can put it up against the hangar and fry pancakes with it. It's so goddamn bright. And when you fly, there is a little drag, but you don't notice. I bought the airplane from California, over in Riverside, California. Picked it up and it was just junk, just parts. And I pulled up in front of my hangar here, and somebody came by and said, "Taking this to the dump, huh?" And I went, no. Yeah, I mean, it looked like it should go to the dump. So
you got it in pieces.
yeah, oh yeah, it was a mess. There wasn't anything any good. The metal, it has metal ribs. They were good, but the spars were shot and the fuselage was just a mess. And it's a tubular fuselage covered with fabric.
Is it wooden? It had wood spars?
Wooden spars.
Okay.
They're brand new. They're just beautiful. And the last time I had it licensed, this little gal that licensed it, Erica, she says, "Bob, we got to check all these spars." And I had a lot of panels, a lot of rings, but not cut out. So we had to cut them all out. And now you can get in there and see the spar. And she says it's just in magnificent condition. Brand new spars,
And she signed off on it.
it's all signed off, yeah. And it's Seconite. You never have to replace Seconite.
Yeah, it's a lifetime cover with
It
the
is.
stuff they use today.
Lifetime cover.
Yes, sir.
And it's the old stuff. Now they have fabric that is already painted. You just put it on and it's done. But this, you put it on and shrink it, and then you spray it with silver, and it's a big process. And Vern Goodsell did all the fuselage. We just took it into his shop up in Sisters, Oregon. And Vern's a good buddy. And we just started working on this thing, and I've got a movie of building that fuselage. And he is just a master craftsman. He did all the work. We made it the L-16A with all the glass. There's glass everywhere. You come out the top. See, you're good. And I found this green tinted plexiglass at some store, and the guy says, "Oh God, I've had this forever." And so we took it down, and it has paper on it. And we thought, oh, it'll all be messy, cracked and stuff. But it wasn't. It was beautiful. So Vern cut all this out and made it all just like the L-16A. It is an L-16A. And it's just wonderful. The visibility when you fly it is just spectacular.
Well, it looks brand new. I've flown with Bob a little bit out to breakfast and stuff, and every time I look at this plane, I think it just looked like he just finished it yesterday, but it's several years old, isn't it?
Every time I look at it, I just love it. When I started flying, I learned a tricycle J3, if you can believe it. Tricycle J3. Mm-hmm. They turned the main gear around and put a nose gear on it. And this was in Coulter Field in Bryan, Texas, where Texas A&M is. And I was at Bryan Air Force Base. And this I got checked out, and that's what I soloed on Coulter Field. It was all grass, and you just point into the wind and take off. But this thing, if you taxi along and you turn too fast, it would flop over and lay on a wing.
No, those J3 tricycles do.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were so close together, they were like this. And you'd have to go like this in the cockpit, and pretty soon it would
Flop back.
I'd take guys for rides and say, no, get with me, we got to get this wing, And I would laugh so hard I could hardly take off. But it's just beautiful.
Now, why did you put invasion stripes and the British rondelles on it?
Well, this is a support aircraft for another aircraft I have. And people ask me that, and I say, well, yeah, we loaned some on the Lend-Lease thing that the United States did to Britain. the Lend-Lease, and they loaned them or gave them 3 Aeroncas and they painted them British. And I tell people that, and they say, "Oh, really? Oh." And I don't know, it was just BS. But like I say, it matches my other airplane.
There's a Scott tailwheel.
I think it's Scott, yeah.
And it's steerable.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then you get to a point and it breaks loose.
Yeah, there's a pawl in there that snapped and they break over.
Yeah.
Like that. It just
Right
broke.
there.
You heard it break, yep.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm going, how can it get any better? And what's really nice for old guys like me is to get in this thing. Because you just, in a Cub, I'd have to have people putting feet in and legs, and in this thing you just put your foot in there, grab here, and you're in.
And see, in a Cub is I can attest. I fly a Cub often. I have one, and Cubs are hard to get in and out of. And I tell you what, it's not getting any easier as years go by.
And they were hard when I was young. I used to crop dust in Cubs, and they were hard then. But this thing, I'm 86, and I can get in and out of this. I'll be able to do it for the rest of my life.
Let's look at your panel real quick. I'm gonna get close so we can look at it.
Yeah, it's all stock. It's just wonderful, and I wouldn't change a thing. And my little GPS is right here.
Those are the tickets. That is the handiest thing. I can attest to that. I have one like it. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Those little GPSs.
I always wear my hat when I fly it.
Let's look at it. There we go, Ronka.
And the gas gauge was in this thing. It was a Model A gas gauge, and it floated, and it was just dangerous. I think, So I took it out, and I have a stick behind my seat, and I undo my cap, and I stick my stick in, and it's calibrated, and I know exactly how much gas I have all the time. I mean, when I take off.
Yes.
And it's just wonderful, and
These old airplanes are a lot cruder than people thought they were.
well,
But they flew, and that was the main
yeah,
thing.
and it's a wide fuselage compared to a Cub. I think a Cub is a little more narrow. I don't know.
Oh, they're a lot narrow.
Are
The
they?
Cubs are so narrow.
Yeah.
This is like a Cadillac compared to a Cub.
It is. It's just that it's got a sliding window in the summer. You hang your hand out, and I mean, it is such a delight to fly. And it cruises 95, sometimes 100 miles an hour, and at about 2,400 RPM, and it just. I learned to fly, and then when I came to Arizona, I was in the Air Force for 2 more years, and the Aero Club had 2 Aeronca 7ACs, and all we did was fly them. And it was $4 an hour wet.
And what engine was in those, Bob?
It was a little C-85, and I don't think it didn't have a starter. So this is a Dash 12 C-85, and the other C-85s didn't have electrical systems. The ones we flew.
So you were hand propping?
Yeah, and you just walk by and they just prop so easy. So, and all we did was fly them, and I had about 500 hours in those Champs, and I have 734 hours on this airplane now, on my recording TAC, and it just the little engine runs so good, and the last compression checks were all up there right where they're supposed to be, and it's got a little small alternator. It's not a generator. It's not a generator. It's an alternator. And when you move the prop, you can see it moving on the back of the engine if the cowl's off, and it just turns outside. This thing is spinning around, and it works just wonderful. I can't, and my radios are right here, my comm and my transponder, easy to get. The guy in the back can get everything, can reach up here and tune stuff. See, it's, I'll keep it forever. I'll never sell this thing.
Well, I've been around a lot of old pilots, and Bob, he's modest. He hadn't told you he's flown jets, he's flown everything, fighters. I won't get into that now.
Everything.
But in the end, everybody's going back into these and J3s and things that are simple
Absolutely.
with no electricity because they love to fly. And you're the same way, aren't you, Bob?
Absolutely. I'm not really I don't like all the fancy stuff. In the airlines, I did fly the 757, which was an all electric, automation. I mean, it was zero land. It would land by itself, 0-0.
Wow.
And I did one of those in Seattle one time, and as you come down and you're getting closer, you start the call outs, and one guy's flying. I mean, he's ready to fly if anything happens. And you start calling off the minimums and the big yoke. As you get close to the runway and the power comes off, the yoke is doing exactly what you would do with it. And all you see is a glow of the runway lights. It was 0-0. And that big thing comes down and just touches down, and that nose goes down. And if it's a foot off the white line, it'll go right over and get on it.
Wow.
And it rolls down and auto brakes, and it'll stop right on the runway.
And what's more fun, that or this?
This. No, that was really fun. I love that airplane, and I loved it so much. When you love something, you can figure it out. My iPhone, I really don't like it. A lot of times I just leave it at home. It drives me nuts because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that 757 was all computer. You just put in all the flight plan in the computer, and I was really good at it. And I'm amazed because I can't even work my cell phone. And I tell my son, I say, Chris, I actually used to be good at this. But, I loved it. I couldn't wait to go fly it. I flew it for 4 years, and I loved it
Well, you've told me before that, because we were talking, I was a rancher and had to run a ranch, and you said, well, I never had to work because I was a pilot. And I remember that. I'll never forget that. I never had to work. I was a pilot.
I used to get up in the morning, and when I was flying, the whole time I flew. And I'd be shaving in the morning and whistling. And my wife, Judy, would come in and say, oh, you make me sick. Oh, you're too happy. You just make me sick. You're so happy. And I'd shave and I'd smile and take off. And I flew for the airlines 35 years and loved every minute. It was the best time to fly for the airlines. You flew the coolest airplanes, and there was no hassles with now Southwest is a mess, and everybody's having problems. But in those days, you just went out and flew. And we'd sit in the cockpit and say, God, I hope they don't find out that we do this for nothing. And, it was just those times were the best times ever. And I just lucked it out.
Now, he got in and out of that airplane like it was nothing. If I had a Super Cub here and you were getting in and out of it, it'd still be fighting it, believe me.
I had a couple guys come in here, old guys in a Super Cub or a J3, and I had to help them get their feet in. They couldn't lift their leg up and get their foot in there.
Oh, 100%.
And we all started laughing so hard we had to take a break.
100% I agree.
More fun.
And that's a problem. I hate to get rid of that Super Cub, but with every year, it's harder and harder to get in and out of. Well, look how beautiful this plane is. I mean, at a distance. Just look at this thing.
I just love it. Like I say, I'll keep it forever.
Beautiful plane. And you always know when Bob's in this hangar because he's whistling. You can tell he's in here, and he loves it. He loves it. I love it. I mean, I am getting to make these videos and look at airplanes and be around airplanes and talk to pilots, and what could be any better? I mean, I just love it.